Guys, welcome back to season 3 of How They Healed. If you're wondering what season 1 and 2 is, it's on this YouTube channel. Just scroll to the playlist of How They Healed. You can watch season 1 and 2. How They Healed was created because I healed from having a child at 19, 14 heartbreaks, 15 abortions, and a divorce. Today, I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist and a family life coach. I help people heal from trauma, emotional pain, dysfunction for a greater life of abundance and meaning. So subscribe to this channel so that you can be the first to watch when a new episode drops. Stay tuned for the rest of the episode.
You know, in my life, so many things I don't know. Nobody ever even really taught me nothing. Like I keep telling people, nobody taught me anything. I probably had my first sex, 17. I probably smoked my first cigarette. Give me a second. If I was 17 again, I'll be happy to tell him that you're crazy. You needed to be crazy. You were stubborn, but you needed to be.
Hi guys, welcome to How They Healed. At How They Healed, we talk about our journeys of healing, resilience, growth, so that you, the audience, we can take you from a place of brokenness to a place of power, like a lot of my guests. I'm still your host, as usual, Lara Kuda. You see Don Momo, popularly known as Dear Coach Lara, everywhere on socials. Today, I have somebody very interesting on the show. I am so excited. Like, you can even almost touch my excitement. Do you know why? First of all, our journey started in a very, very funny way. You know, I met him in an Uber. Like, he was my Uber driver. And today, 7 years after, he's doing excellently well. And we are still friends. We're still in contact. Guys, let me not take too much of your time because I want to introduce you to a man that I've seen his growth, a man that I've seen him rise from a place of ashes, and now he's like the phoenix, somebody that stands like this. Guys, welcome with me, Deji Onadeko. He's the CEO of Red Lantern Media.
Yes, please.
Nice to have you here.
I am super pumped. Happy to be here. Thank you, Laura, for inviting me.
You don't feel happy. You don't sound happy.
I'm great. Like, are you joking? I'm pumped. I'm happy to finally be, in the same room with you, talking about some of the experiences that, we've seen individually and even, even as friends. I'm also really pumped at your growth, how far you've come. Like, it's crazy, Sometimes, you're experiencing this type of growth in your own life, but I think the marginal difference is obvious when you see it in somebody else's life.
Yes.
And it reminds you how far you've come.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Big ups, Lara.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Big ups, dear Coach Lara.
Thank you. And like you said, it feels so good that, it's like both of us are growing together.
Yeah.
And let us start from the beginning.
Yeah.
In Abuja that year, precisely 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I met you in an Uber. I requested for
Uber. The taxi.
And then this guy shows up. Fine guy, Uber guy.
I can't even believe this.
Fine boy. And he was my driver.
Yeah,
do you remember?
Clearly.
And,
Clearly.
I think you were trying to make conversations or something, but me, that time, they just broke my heart.
Yeah.
So I was not even ready to be talking to anybody. But then, after a while, this man just says, Madam, I beg, please.
Yeah.
See, my friend.
I didn't remember that I ever did that.
I think he wants to get married. You told me all the plenty story, that maybe he's going to the airport
I remember.
or something. Do you remember the guy?
Yeah.
So that, please, I just need to pick him on this ride. And I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know what made me just
you agreed, 2 guys.
Yes, I agreed on 2 guys in a place where I don't even know anybody.
Yeah,
because I just moved that year. You understand? But I just don't know. That's why I always say something. There is an inner compass in all of us.
There is.
It tells you this person, be close to them. This person, no.
There
this,
is.
don't go there. Because it was that thing that made me just say, why? No problem. And then you pick the guy.
I mean, I would never have known that was the start of, a relationship that I would watch grow, watch you win over and over, watch you, fail, fall, try again, never stop, keep at it, and, be able to add these stories all together. Who would have known 7 years ago that 7 years down the line, there'll be 3 cameras on our faces.
And we'll be having this conversation.
And I'll be in a building branded with your name all over the place. And you're happy to say. But it's really exciting.
Thank you. I feel so humbled. that, you telling me this, because
Yeah.
you also, from an Uber driver
Yeah.
7 years ago,
Yeah.
look at you today.
Yeah.
Guys, I have these two people, macho people like this. They are working with team. PA, I don't know the other person, I was even telling them I can't work in your organization because they are very like him. But I'm just so proud of your journey.
Thank you.
And I want you to start from the beginning.
Okay.
I know your story, a little bit of it, but I want you to share in a deep way. First of all, you are back then you were on Cool FM in Abuja.
Yeah,
you were on one TV station.
Yeah, I was head of station of a TV
head
station.
of station. You interviewed me too. Remember?
Yeah. I'd met you already.
Yes.
That's true. You came on my show at some point.
Yes, you understand that year. And but the story is that you grew up as a child, without a father figure in the home. Tell me about that.
Oh, okay. I mean, first and foremost, I've never, ever, ever, ever been in an interview where it's demand, like where, I get to share conversations like this. So forgive me if I'm not great at telling this story. I don't know where to start from, but I grew up with a single mom. I always say that, we were the kids of the other woman, right? Where my mom had, had me and my other brother for some guy, who, I think he was affluential, he was rich, he was way older. And, when I think about the story in retrospect, I think my mom might have thought that was her way, out of poverty, or out of struggle. And then myself and my brother came. And I know there's a lot of story as to what those beginning days were for us. Of course, as a kid, I didn't even know. I remember even, as a child, when people's dads come to pick them from school, I'm like, you guys have jobless daddies, though.
Whoa.
My daddy don't have time like your...
He's busy making money.
You know what I mean? Like, my dad is busy being king or, something. But I didn't realize that what I had was a dysfunctional situation. I didn't know that for so long. And then, when I was 7, we moved to Abuja. Of course, I would later find out that there was also a story there. My mom got scared for our lives, myself and my brother, because my dad was an Oba and, he had an only wife. My mom was the other woman. My mom had 2 sons. He had a son that, they were not so sure. Like, he was way older, but, at the time, story had it that he was not the most responsible or whatever. This is all I know. I don't know as much. So my mom got worried that, the other wife had 5 kids, 4 of them are girls. My mom comes from nowhere and has 2 kids from nowhere. So when my mom moves to Abuja, I remarried, the man who became the dad to my amazing younger sisters, with whom my mom is no longer with. I remember us moving to Abuja at 7, at 8, me being very excited to start a new life here. And then 2-3 years down the line, the story changes. My stepdad becomes excruciatingly abusive, both to my mom and, to myself and my other brother. I have very gruesome memories. That's why right now people who are around me know I don't take it lightly for anybody to abuse kids. There's no excuse. I don't care. Whether it's, you call it spanking, 2 fingers, or it's the type of abuse I got, because my entire teenage life was then filled with a lot of physical abuse. I was never sexually abused. I can say that. But physical abuse, I resumed at the military school on the first week as a 10-year-old boy. On the Thursday of the week, we resumed school for something. Somebody was reading a book, and they asked them to bring the book, and they dropped it on my lap, and I was called out, and I was flogged 98 strokes of cane on the first week.
98 strokes of cane.
Yeah. So my entire life was filled with that. My entire teenage years was filled with that chaos. Maybe not teenage, because as a teenage, my mom had left my stepdad, but like those early years from then, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all that chaos. You see, my mom, you must give me today. All those type of husband and wife fighting. My mom was I saw my stepdad destroy what my mom had managed to build. My mom was a low-level secretary in the ministry, but she was very industrial, or very industrious, and she had started this computer school in the early 2000s. It was a big deal, like in 2001 or so, for, to own a computer school with 12 computers and things like that was a big deal. And I saw him come home one day and say, "We're stopping this," and all that. Of course, in retrospect, I realized it was his ego. He couldn't deal with the fact that my mom was making more money, and things like that. I would grow older to then begin to see how not having a father was a serious missing piece. In my life, so many things I don't know. Nobody ever even really taught me nothing. Like I keep telling people, nobody taught me anything. So as little as why you should wear one boxers in a day, why you should not wear the same boxers twice, like for 2 days straight. To how you should shave, to to the smallest things, to how a man should look, to sexual conversations or whatever. There was really not any of those experiences. I never had a consistent fact. I remember my mom then dating, a couple of men, and then there was this other one that she dated as well that was also quite abusive, verbally and physically, and of course, in retrospect, I realized my mom too was in search of love. She had never been a mom before. This was also her first try. And I also see how, she could have done better by herself, by being more, trusting of her own guts, trusting of her own capacity to do what needed to be done. It's like mistake after mistake after mistake. We're no mistakes, but like, settling with my dad at the time, she was paying several fees, paying fees for her elder sister, a younger brother, raising a family and all that. But like that, experience brought my brother, and then settling for less with, the height of irresponsibility because of he feigned to be a pastor or some crap. But I'm sure red flags were written all over him. And we settled for that. And then that also then further on goes on, put our life in a lot of jeopardy. We think about a lot of times of what could have been different on my mom's life. Sometimes my mom is also even sometimes tempted to say, man, she wishes she stopped at me. But of course she can't say that. My sisters are amazing. I love them so much, Trevor and Catherine. Used to be 3 of them. We lost Joy in 2012.
Sorry.
Yeah, so and then 2007, one fateful day. There's first the fact that you don't even realize what is missing. I think that's the craziest part.
Yes, I was going
about that kind of
ask you that, like,
experience.
I'm sure that you didn't know anything was
No,
missing.
you don't realize. In fact, it's now that I'm being haunted by it.
How?
So 2007, my mom calls me that, I should come home. I was coming from school, we had just started using GSMs at the time. Come home, she was really nice. My mom was very busy, so she didn't come and pick up from school or stuff like that. But come home, I'm like, what's up? And then I didn't know. I thought maybe I'd done something because I was quite a troublesome child in my senior secondary years. Then I get home, my mom passed me a newspaper. I'm like, I don't understand what's happening here. And the tabloids has carried it. My dad had died. There were so many things to break my heart.
You never met.
I mean, I did meet him. We did go to the palace. I did. When I was, as a child, it was slightly a part of our life. Not slightly, it was quite a part of our life till my mom, out of fear, moved us to Abuja.
Oh.
Yeah, slightly would come, he would visit, I remember great experience, a few very tiny experiences with him. I was driving to the palace, to spend some nights with him at the palace in Ijebu-Isha, Remo, or him coming over and spending a few hours with us, or him standing by the window to show off his SUV that moves with a remote control, or him putting his portfolio for me to see so I can see ahead while we're driving, maybe to the village, stuff like that. But like last time I saw him, I was maybe 5 or 6,
Wow. So at what age did your mom bring the newspaper to show you?
I was in SS1. I was in SS1. I was maybe 14 or 15. I didn't even know which one to hurt, which one to cry about. Which is, did I just lose my dad, or the fact that I'm finding out in the newspaper, and then the obituary list doesn't have our name. Nowhere in the obituary, the remembrance, the anniversary, the newspapers, the blogs, the vlogs, everything, nothing. We are literal bastards.
Whoa.
So I didn't even know which one to hurt more, especially because the year before, and this particular story I'm about to share, I told my mom about it like a week or two ago, or 3 weeks ago, to say this was a turning point in my life, this action, which was in 2006.
Mhm.
We had agreed to go see my mom. I mean, to go see my dad. Finally, my mom had, gotten a driver, was going to drive, blah, 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 all that type of stuff. And then a day or two before the trip, my mom says she's sorry she can't take me. I'm like, why? She says that she can't put two of her sons in the same car on such a long trip. I'm like, what the about, bro? Like, I'm sorry, I'm speaking
It's
French,
okay.
but like, what do you mean? Like, you can't go with me, blah, and all that. She's like, yo, and then went with another neighbor of mine that, think had nothing to do with the trip, it was just a vacation, another friend of ours, but because there was an empty seat, it was now her rather than me. And I excuse what she can't put two of her sons in the same car in case something goes wrong, both of us wouldn't die, literally. I mean, I understand where it comes from.
See, Deji, sorry to cut you short. I remember back then, parents had sort, I don't know where they got it from. Like, you don't put every member of a family in the same car. You don't, but you can put them in the same plane.
I mean,
sha.
I think that in retrospect,
Mhm.
I understand it.
Mhm.
Like, you should
How was their
actually not even
belief
put all your
there?
family members in the same plane.
Mm.
But I think just stopping there was unfair. She could have put me in the bus.
Yeah.
What it showed was she not understanding the implications of me having to see my father, at least at that time. And thinking she could have literally put me in the bus. We were traveling by bus at 7, 8 already alone, Lagos, Abuja, to see my grandma or whatever.
So how did that impact you, that singular action?
So that was in 2006, right?
Mhm.
Then she comes back and I'm really heartbroken. My brother doesn't want to talk much about the trip. I'll find out later that he was angry. He was angry at my dad because my dad kept on saying that the reason why he's no longer paying our fees or doing any of that was because my stepdad gave us an English name, and that's why I owe you Wombe, and my brother was pissed, and I remember my mom coming back, just so that this story comes together. My mom coming back, feeling bad that she didn't take me, promising to buy me a bicycle, we going to shop the bicycle, and she not buying the bicycle. It is recently I realized that built a level of doubt in my heart that it makes me very anxious whenever I'm in expectation mode, when I'm expecting something, because until it materializes, I don't have enough to hope or trust anymore.
Because you've gone through like a series of broken promises.
Over and over, my entire childhood was that. My stepdad building castles in the skies, telling us how, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, he's going to be a great dad and all of that. My life is so in adulthood now, which is why, maybe just 2 years ago when I was in some type of a financial downtime, and then in comparison to now that, by the grace of God, everything is a lot better. When people text me to ask for money, I don't understand it. It's a part of me that I don't understand. I try to help when I can, but I actually don't understand how. Did I miss the memo? Why is it like, so people can ask people for money? Because no one ever gave me shit. Like, I think about the last 10 years of my life, and I can't remember one handout. One thing that was just given to me just because of I'm a guy.
Yeah.
5,000 or 10,000 or 50,000 that I didn't have to, work my back off. I don't have to work my ass off to get. So I think that had built that in me where I don't have it in me to look up to anybody for anything, which is why you find me driving a taxi. Understand that at the time when you found me driving a taxi, I had come from a career in the Southwest that wasn't so bad. I'd been on radio, I'd won awards, I'd done stuff, and I tried to move to Lagos and Lagos swallowed me. I called my mom crying and she said, come back to Abuja. And I get back to Abuja and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to put your car on taxi, I'm going to drive it. It was my mom's car at the time, those were my options. There was nobody to run with. My options was always about how can I find it inside. No leverage at all.
Not looking at, where can I get a handout? Where so you have always been about creating your
I've always had to.
Whoa.
I've always had to.
It's deep.
I've always had to. It links up to a lot of stories. If we link it down to the story of, how I dropped out of the university as well. I didn't drop out with an intent not to go back, but I dropped out and there was no route back. As to why I dropped out of school?
Yes.
So through my dad was a civil engineer. He was former controller general at the Ministry of Works. So, growing up as a child, they ask what I want to become. I would say I want to be an engineer. Engineer. So which type do you want to become? I'll say, which one is that? He said that is a civil engineer. Great, I want to be a civil engineer. But you say it long enough, you begin to believe it. Your family begins to hope for it. And I've always been a big talker. So everybody always has high hopes that, they're just going to be the one to do really big stuff. So through that, I get into SS1. So one of the things that I know I've never been able to do is be average. I hate being average. I don't know where that comes from, but I think it stems from the fact that I know I don't have so many opportunities. So the only way I can stand out is if I'm one of the best, if not the best, at whatever I'm doing part time. So entering SS1, senior secondary school 1, on the instant I realized I was terrible at this. I can't be a science student. I was doing better with social science courses and stuff. And in SS1, I told my mom I wanted to leave this. I don't want to do this. This is ridiculous. But she had this guy she was dating who thought it was the best after sliced bread, who used to hit me a lot and thought that, and kept on saying it a lot. I really want to see if I can find him, right? And tell him that,
Why?
you said only a professional course can make me successful. You said that if I didn't study a 5-year course, if I was not an engineer or a lawyer or an accountant, I can't stand amongst my peers. I'm standing the tallest, bro. Like, you were wrong. I wish you knew that you were wrong. Like, you put me through so much pain for stuff that you were wrong about.
So this brings me to, this is what older adults do to children. You know, they just come with one thing.
So not
that
older
they know.
adults. This is what toxic, ignorant people do to people. It's not an age disparity. The reason why he had impact over me was because he was older. There are older people who have better sense than he does. So I think, you know me, I always individualize these things.
Yeah.
You are the stupid person. You can't blame your generation. You can't blame anything. You can't blame your upbringing. You take responsibility for what you do not know. And I don't know how you can be so short-sighted to tell a kid who is struggling through school. And the crazy thing, I gotta, to finish the story about me dropping out of school, is that I didn't tell my mom I wanted to drop out. I mean, I wanted to change schools, go to a different secondary school, and start again. My mom was okay with it. This guy insists. Bottom line, I finished secondary school. If I had to go stay in his house to write work, because I thought I needed to be more serious. Like, I was always a studious kid. That's the crazy thing. Like, I was always the kind of kid who would do what it takes to pass. Then I get into university finally after trying to be 2 or 3 times and writing work several times to study building, something like that. Building is, building the house version of civil engineering. Yes. So everybody was excited. You're in for a professional course now. And I was gonna see it through. I was gonna try. I was studying really hard. But I remember one of the turning points for me was studying for 2 weeks straight in the library in my school, not going to my hostel, freshening up and brushing my teeth and just staying there and reading for 2 weeks for a test. I was over 15. And the result came out and I got 4 over 15. That's not on me. No. My brain can't be that dry. And at that turning point, this was 200 level, first semester or 100 level, first or second semester, I can't remember. But at that point, I'm like, there has to be something that I am good at that deserves my hard work. I can't study for 2 weeks.
Then I get a 4.
And then I get a 4. That's less than 40 or 30%. There has to be something that I'm good at. And I think that I was finally confident to find it. So, one of those strikes, I'm at home, and I'm watching Teddy Babyface with my younger sister, and he's doing his thing. And I told my sister, I think I can do what Teddy's doing. And my sister's like, yo, what do you mean you can? Like, whatever. The worst they can say is no. So I go and I'm trying to find a radio station to work at, and I'm walking the streets. I'm telling them, guys, if you let me wash your toilets, if you let me sweep your studios, like in finding a studio to work with, to intern, I didn't take the option of who do I know that knows someone in a radio station. It's now that I realize I don't even think like that. So my first action
is, what can I do?
Who do I need to serve? Who leak? Where do I need to? What do I need to do? So I went to Rhythm, Cool FM, Nigerian Info FM, like all of them. Like, guys, I want to intern. Oh, are you a media student? Do you have a letter? No, I don't. But I can clerk for you. I can sweep your studios. If I Cool FM, when I walked into Cool FM, and I said, the lady who was there laughed and said, all right, you know what? Write it down. And I wrote it down. I would wash your toilet. I would do this in exchange, precisely, in exchange for 2 hours studio time.
Whoa.
I was precise, 2 hours studio time every day of the week. And then they said they would call me back. They didn't call me back. I went back again. And she was like, I thought I said we'll call back. I said, I came to remind you to call me back. But they finally,
so tenacious.
I don't know where it came from, but they finally let me in. Of course, they didn't say I should sweep their toilets. They were excited to give me an opportunity. And I blew everybody's minds away. I blew my mind away. And I remember on one of such days, I'm walking home and I fall to the ground in tears, like, God, finally, I'm good at something.
Because God, you had struggled, in that. Oh my goodness.
I'd failed throughout. I'd failed everywhere. I failed it. Secondary school, go to like overtime, jump over and over again, getting OAU. And I'm not one of the best. And, I walk out of the studio as an intern. All the presenters want me to be the one working with them, want me to talk on radio. The head of station is saying he can give me a job if I can stay in Abuja. And I was walking home that day and I knelt into the dust and I said, God, thank you. I'm good at something. And that changed everything for me. So when I went back to school, I began to do the presenting, radio and all that, still trying to do school. And I'm one day in the exam, or maybe 300 level second semester. Of course, at this point, they had told me I can't cross. So I crashed my CGPA because they said I can't cross. My CGPA is not bad enough.
So you purposely
I crashed it.
Because they said you cannot cross.
I crashed
because
it. My CGPA was still too good.
You need to have a very bad result.
I crashed it. I took a semester where I did not take leave of absence, nothing. Made the exams go, get all F. And I go to see the HOD. And I said, I did worse this year. My CGPA is bad. Allow me cross. And he looks at me and says, Deji, I'll never forget, Dr. Atta. He looks at me and says, Deji, you know you can lead this department is if you write jump.
Why?
Okay. So that particular day in the exam hall, I had walked into the exam hall. My friends were shocked to see me because I'm barely in class this time and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And they had dropped the answer sheets. And they're dropping answer sheets, and I'm looking at the answer sheet, I'm like, Deji Onadeko. I'll start begging somebody for answer again. What's my baby? What's number 1? What's number 2? I will enter this anxiety level. I can drop paper and as dramatic as I'm saying it is exactly what happened. I just dropped the paper. I went to meet my class rep. I said, I'm out of here and I'm never coming back here for academic purposes. I went to meet the lecturer and I repeated the same thing. And I walked out, striding. I'm done with that part of my life. Legit. People say, did you drop out of school? Did they give you advice to drop out? Did they? Nope. I dropped it.
You literally walked out of school.
I realized a few weeks ago, I was talking to a friend about it, that what that represented now that I think about it, was I walked out of that place deciding to take a bet on me, not a certificate. I decided that I better have what it takes. I decided that I am the deal. I'm the investment.
Not
to heck with all of you. I'm not going to do this. And I walked out of that room. And I mean, like they say, the rest is history.
Deji,
like
oh my goodness. You know how you know people, you think you know them, but you really don't know them? Like, I'm literally in shock.
I know. We've not had opportunities to discuss these things in this angle, so...
This angle is shocking.
And I remember that one of the basic things, and I like to always mention this when I talk about my dropout, because one of the things that happened with a lot of people when I dropped out and was seemingly successful in the university was people come and make me to want to use me as an excuse to drop out. And I tell them that one of the things I did in analyzing for my dropout was I asked myself, who are the people in my life that I know that dropped out? And how are they doing? I remember, of course, you remember the Mark Zuckerbergs, I remember all of them. But I remember I had 2 uncles. And when I say this story, it will make sense to you. I have 2 uncles, or 2 of them dropped out of school and not really doing so great with their lives, right? And I tried to pay attention as to the why. And I realized when they dropped out, they lied about it. In fact, one of them kept on taking money from his family, from my mom's sister, who he was on scholarship by ExxonMobil. So he kept on taking the money, kept on paying house rent, claiming that it was... And I realized that for those who drop out and lie, the lie becomes a cap.
Yeah, because you have to lie.
So you cannot so you lie to the point where the lie can get you through, and then it stops you. I, on the other hand, told myself when I was dropping out, and you can already tell when I drop out, it will never be a secret. I would always share, always tell, always add it to my CV. It's not about to be a secret that I dropped out of school.
Calm down. Where did you get
I actually don't know. From? Saying it now, I'm just like,
are you joking?
I'm crazy, actually.
That was crazy.
Like, I'm proper crazy. And I think that's an advantage of the unconventionality that people like me grew up with. I didn't grow up in a home that kept on singing you have to have a degree, you have to have a this, you have to have a that, and all that. So I think somehow I just grew up thinking it has to be me. You know? So everywhere I am, in fact, several situations of I'm in an interview room, I'm interviewing for a job. What school did you go? I'm like, oh, I finished with OAU, but I didn't finish from OAU. What do you mean by that? Guys, I dropped out. They would laugh.
That's what you say.
I promise you that there's never been an interview that I walked in for what I know how to do best, that I came out without getting the job.
Yeah.
In fact, the worst that has happened was I turned it down.
Of Of course, when
Every
you
single
speak like
time.
that with that much
Every single
confidence,
time.
what do you expect?
So I think that's an important part to add to it, because although I would then realize later in my life what school was supposed to give me that I did not take, that I had to learn, which was structure. So, which is what I then...
Wait, before we get there. First of all, when you dropped out and told your mom,
Oh, she went crazy.
What happened?
She went gaga. My mom went crazy, called my pastor, cried on the phone. You want to put me to shame? Why are you going to do this to me? Blah, blah, blah. At some point said...
And you're the firstborn, right?
No, I have another brother.
Okay.
A big shout out to him, because he's the one person who has never stood against any of my plans. If I'm about to drop out, when I'm about to drop out, and I call him, all right, Deji, you know what you're doing. There was this weird idea I had that I wanted to go to Covenant University. So I'm going to write people's names to give me 4K every month for 5 months. When I do the master to come together to 500,000 naira, I would have needed 25 people to do that. That's how I'll be able to pay myself into Covenant University. Well, nobody listened to me. My brother paid.
Mom went crazy.
Of course, she went gaga. But with all credits to her as well, I think she never stopped believing. Of course, with a mom, you don't really have a choice, especially when it's not like I'm a druggie or I'm out there, drinking and messing my life up. I'm just, in their eyes, I'm just delusional. What do you think you're going to do with your life if you don't have? Anyways, at some point, of course, she had to take a back seat. She said it several times that she wished she saw it earlier. She supported me a lot earlier. Maybe things should have happened for me a little faster. I don't know. But bottom line is, she was pissed, she was sad, she was angry, she was scared. I think it's more fear than anything else. But she got over it, especially because I used to say something. It's important I mention this. That when you're onto something and the people around you, people that love you, don't support you, good for you. Because it's about to test how much you really want it. So if you're willing to go, yes, it's about to test how much you really want it. So if you're willing to go against those that love you, those that will put their lives on the line for you, to do what it is that you believe, maybe you then have a shot at succeeding at it. Because I was.
Whoa. So, wow. It's like you are schooling me on something. I'm telling you, because you are not the conventional guy.
I never have.
You are very different. I'm telling you, because like you said, some people would have gone that route and it would have ended left.
Yeah.
But look at you here today.
Yeah.
So you said there was something that you were supposed to get from school that you didn't get.
Yeah. So through my career, right? At this point, you have a lot of certifications and all that to back it up and all that, but it's still a big part of the story.
So you took a lot of certifications?
Maybe recently.
Okay.
Very inconsequential to my entire growth. I want to take an MBA now, an executive MBA. I mean, we can afford it, so why not? Just so that we can meet and network more with people. But I think that through my career, as a creative, I then realized that what was important about school was the fact that school was teaching you to meet deadlines, to wake up early, to get things done. Apaz, you see, we don't realize that the byproduct of school is the most important product from school. And the byproduct of school is the discipline you learn, the resilience. You fail a course, you are made to write it again, meaning that you can't give up on yourself. You have to wake up again, you have to try again next year, School teaches you to work with people, to work with a team, with all those projects that they give us, they teach you to be organized. They teach you to, see a problem and solve it. I didn't have that, at least not in that way. So in going through my career and then growing to become, a businessman in the entertainment space, I saw it affect me. And I think that one of the things that I've been blessed with, a child like me had to have it, is the ability to introspect, look into my life and say, what am I not doing right? And try to fix it. So when I'm looking at, I remember, so at some point in my career, a couple of years ago, not so far away, I lost everything all over again. I had made a lot of money. I was staying in Lekki. I was living such a great life. And then everything fell flat in my face all over again.
What happened?
It was simply just structure, really. Lack of structure, I mean, from where I'm coming from, I didn't see my first million until like maybe 28 or 29. Then there's now 1 million or 1.2 in my account. The first thing I want to do is, everybody has to notice though, and not being able to compete in the business space because you don't have the professional know-how. you know the technical know-how. You can make stuff happen, but how about how to, write this, how to get paperwork done, how to make sure emails are going out, how to do all those little things, how to make sure, your papers are clear, all that. And I saw it crash a deal that crashed me in retrospect. And I'm happy that for a second I looked back. What can I do? What's happening here? What do I need to fix? And I traced it down to that fact that, oh crap, this is what I should have learned from school. All right, I'm going to learn it now. So I'm learning it. I'm getting a team. I'm trying to, I moved back to the mainland, moved back in with my mom, from that experience I was having, back in with my mom. Yeah, proudly so. I remember when I was moving to the mainland, a particular set of talents that I really like and appreciate called me and said, Deji, don't tell people you moved back to the mainland. People underrate me. You see, things like that are things I like. I like you to underrate me. I like me to tell you that I moved back to the mainland and then you don't work with me because of, I don't lie for crap. I would never choose a lie because I think that my biggest investment is my story. I'm not about to water it down by staying on the mainland or, to do bigger. You now ask me, because I'm in an event in Ikoyi, so where do you stay? And I'll say, somewhere around. Or some people will even answer. The most popular answer I hear when you ask people that stay on the mainland is, where do you stay? They will say mainland. No, I stay in Ojodu Bega. If you decide to judge me by that, that's on you. So, but that's beside the point. The point there is retracing my step, knowing what I'm not doing right, how it can be fixed, intentionally restructuring that part of my life and building all the way back from the scratch. I think that the real test of a man is his ability to start with nothing. That's the real test of a man. His ability to lose it all, start again, and keep it going. Because at the end of the day, your biggest tool is not your money, your family, whatever. The biggest tool is your skill, and life once in a while wants to test that skill. And when I say life, it's your consequences that is testing you. Because my life, what happened to me in 2022, 2023 was a consequence of my own actions. If I had taken care of my money then, if I had known better then, I would not have had to go through that journey. So when we say life will teach you, it's consequences that is teaching you. Now, sometimes it's not consequences of your actions. It could be consequences of your own mom's actions. Like my mom, me growing up without a father, that's somebody's consequence affected me. The consequences is sharing all around. It'll touch you and it'll teach you. The problem is you make the same mistake twice. I'm never available to make the same mistake twice. So I think that's really about it.
I need to tell you, has anybody ever tell you that you have so much wisdom?
I'm blushing.
I'm serious.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also not very surprised at that feedback. My biggest gift is the ability to communicate. And for communications to be a gift or a skill, there has to be something you're communicating.
Yeah, because you're just, I know your age. I know that old. I know the young boy. Easy to take accountability.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have
Yeah.
that. Then you really self-reflect.
I do. It's the only thing I have going for me in my life.
When you do that, you can retrace.
Yeah.
When you do that, you can say, oh, this is where I messed up.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I should. Because first of all, when you were talking about what school teaches you, the byproducts of school,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, may I even finish school? I don't even know this thing. I'm not even explaining it to you. If anybody had asked me, I'd be like, yeah, you go to school because, but look at what you're saying.
Yeah.
And this has told me that, I've always known anyways, but you're just telling me afresh that it's not about getting a degree.
It's never been.
You are more literate and more sound than a lot of people that have degrees.
Yeah.
Because look at what you're saying. Like, at just such a young age, you were able to, I messed up. And then I'm moving from, the popular area or lifestyle that everybody's used to.
Do it again.
And then I'm going to start afresh.
Happy to.
See, a lot of people don't come back from that. Do you know?
Yeah, I'm aware. I've seen people not. That's why sometimes it looks like I don't have compassion. Because there's really nothing you want to tell me that.
Do it yourself.
Over and over again.
Yourself with yourself. So I remember one of those times too that I was having a nervous breakdown. And I was telling, my husband today, we were still dating then. And I don't know what happened. I was just like, if I I've just always done things myself. If I want to eat an egg, I literally have to lay it.
Yeah. You have to lay it.
So that kinds of sometimes robbed you of, too much compassion or empathy sometimes. Like, come and give me money. Uncle.
Bro.
Who gave me?
Who gave me money?
You get. But we need to also balance it.
Of course.
To understand that not everybody has the same capacity like us, and then not the same circumstances and realities you get. But look at you. I need you to keep looking at you.
Thank you.
Because of all of these things could have destroyed. You could have ended up on the street.
Yeah, it could have been a million and one things.
Yeah.
A lot of things could have happened.
Have been in rehab.
Yeah, could have given up a long time ago.
You could have been dead.
Yeah.
You understand? Because a father figure is, you know how fathers are. They would make
sometimes I think about my dad, and I wonder if the moment before he took his last breath, this thought is my curse. It will forever haunt me. I wonder if he thought about me. I wonder if in his last moments he thought to himself, like, damn, what's up with this son of mine? Like, did I even exist to him? And whether you like it or not, those are vacuums you struggle with. It would affect your self-esteem. You'd never really know. Because I wonder, would he have been so proud? I'm sure he might have been so proud. I always think about that. And I was just going to put that out there. Like, even before his death, did it ever occur to him? Like, so when I see people living their lives, have their dad, I'm like, man, this is my curse.
Yeah.
Like, my reality will always be that I never had one of these experiences. Not even the type where, like, I don't even know what his voice sounds like. I don't even remember him. If I want to remember him, I Google, put his name on internet, just look at him to see, do I even look like him? Do we look alike? That part, I'm never going to recover from.
Therapy might help you.
Yeah, I could try that.
You should.
I mean, I'm in therapy. I used to be. I can't believe it came here.
You dropped out of therapy.
I did drop out of therapy, but it did help at the time when I needed it.
And I was going to point out to you too that there's a way you pronounce your surname. That's one of those things I've known about you. You stress your surname. And I remember you told me who said that and all of that. But do you think it has anything to do with your dad? Because that's your dad's surname, right?
Yeah.
So does that affect your identity in any way? Like, this is my identity. I can't. Do you think that has anything to do with it?
I mean, there was a time I wanted to take the name out. Not so far ago. Maybe within the last 10 years. Thought about it a couple of times.
Why?
Because I thought it was worthless to me. I have such an influential surname. Because there were times where when I was dropping out of school and I thought I needed to go into a private school, study mass communication, I reached out to my siblings who are really wealthy people. And one of them said to tell my mom that they should tell me to stop reaching out. One of them said they don't know me, So what has the name done for me? Literally nothing. And I was going to take it out. Of course, when my dad died, there's this cousin from my dad's side that we talk every now and then. She's in Canada now. And she's like, yo, Deji, you don't have to do that. It's who you are, blah, blah, blah. And even my mom's like, you shouldn't do that. But the only reason why I hold the name so dearly is it's the only thing that connects me back to my roots, no matter how far away I can run from it. And I'm really proud, that I'm proud that I come from a lineage of winners, to be fair, and like a friend explained it to me recently. The family didn't hurt me, the man did. Yeah, this was like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that's so deep. If you think about it, because
the family didn't hurt you, the man did.
Yeah, the man did. Because my mom had been like, we should go to the palace. We should introduce ourselves, blah blah. And I've been like, I don't give a heck, I don't care, blah blah blah. And I was talking to a friend randomly. And it's like, nah, like the man himself hurt you, but the other cause didn't hurt you. Like the whatever influence I can add to the quality of that name for the next generation of another cause, I'll be happy to do it.
That's healing.
Yeah, quite.
Another perspective. Yeah. A very, very better one.
Quite. Healing is a word.
Yeah.
Because that relieved me a lot. It made me understand that owning the name is my responsibility, not theirs. Right. And, I've always said, because another call is a very, influential name where we come from. But I've always said, and it's already beginning to happen, that when people say the Onadeko name, even the richest of them, when they introduce themselves as Onadeko, they will ask them, do you know a certain Deji Onadeko? That's the goal. For me, being able to tell a story as dramatic, as beautiful, as impactful as mine is what counts. And the Onadeko is a part of that story, so it stays.
Wow, that's so beautiful to hear. I'm going to ask you before we go, how has this impacted your thoughts of being a father?
Oh, Lara, this would not have been a complete interview if you didn't ask that. It's the only chance I have to experience good fatherhood, which is to be it, to be what nobody could ever be or become for me. Um, I don't take it very lightly that I get the chance at some point in my life to father a being, helpless being, and help them walk through life. I always say it in person when people are, you know, conversations about being a dad comes up, and I'm like I know the kind of dad I'm gonna be. I'm going to be so detached from my child's success and glory and praise and all that. The only thing I'm going to be to my child is his dad. I'm going to be rich enough to not need him to be rich. I'm going to be successful enough to not need him to be successful. Like, I'm ready. And I keep telling parents of nowadays, and that's the mistake our parents made, that you need to be ready to love your child. If he ends up a druggie, ends up gay, ends up a failure, ends up, because that is what it means to love them.
Oh my God.
That's the responsibility it takes. Because I'm a product of being loved despite. Because if my mom, the most important entity in my life, gave up on me at any point in my life, this story that I tell, because when I see, and this is important to mention, that, I didn't have any leverage. It's important to not take away the fact that I had a leverage of a loving mom. So, fatherhood, I look forward to it. I'm really proud or really happy that, I'm able to buy enough time to begin to get to a point where I can, we used to say this thing like a joke. If I cannot afford this or this or this, I'm not having kids. I meant it. Because I'm not about to enter a journey where I'll be trying to use sufferness to teach my child a lesson. I really, really look forward to fatherhood. I hope God gives me the grace, gives me the privilege, to be father to a boy or a girl or both. And most importantly, actually, quite importantly, which is the part that matters the most, even more than fatherhood, to be the ideal, the best husband to whoever their mom becomes.
Yeah.
Right? I now understand it. When I was younger, I used to say, I could get a girl pregnant and all that, but it'll be wrong that, one of you didn't need to die for your kids to grow without, one of their parents being there. I would have to die for my kids to grow up without me. Right? And even in death, I would put in enough to make sure that only my physical presence will be missed. So I really look forward to that. I pray God gives me the opportunity to do it. And I'm learning the devotion that it'll take to love a child despite.
Thank you so much for this. This is healing for me, What would you tell 70-year-old Deji?
We did it, chap. Like, like, give me a second. If I was 17 again, I'll be happy to tell him that you're crazy. You needed to be crazy. You were stubborn, but you needed to be. You learned it. Like, everything you were scared of, what you were worried about, the things that you were afraid of, you learned to walk around it, right? In my 30s now, seeing my first million less than 4 or 5 years ago, realizing that, and I think that's the one most important thing I'd like to tell 17-year-old me. Just give it time, right? Allow the two most important things that matter in your success to play out, which is time and work. The problem that I had, that you had at your 17 years, is you wanted to be everything tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow finally came. You just didn't come tomorrow. It came a couple years down the line. You struggled, you fell, you slipped. It took 10 to 12 years in the same industry doing it over and over again. But you finally became the authority that you hoped you'd become. And you'll be so proud when you finally arrive where we are now and look back at the entire story. You'll be so proud. It's unbelievable. We found a company, bro, with people and revenue and salaries and paperwork and emails and clients. Like, we got there. It was not first-class construction company like we thought when we were studying building, but it's Renaissance and media, and we appreciate it. We love it.
And I'm sure 17-year-old Deji would be proud.
Yeah.
To see this 30-year-old, Deji saying all of these things.
He better be, because it's been a lot of ups and downs. I didn't let him down. I didn't let him down. At 17, I had chewed my first weed and gone crazy. At 17, I'd probably had my first sex. 17, I'd probably smoked my first cigarettes. 17, I had stolen my first phone. There was a year like that I was notorious. I used to steal students' phones because they stole mine once.
And then you went on rampage.
But I didn't end up an arm robber.
Yeah.
You see, my story allows me to know what it means to love despite, because I'm that child though. I went for lesson once to one man. And then when I came back from the lesson, the man came with his entire family to come and report that I had stolen his phone because he used to repair phones. I'm that child. My mom had to deal with that. I'm that child. My mom had to deal with the fact that I got suspended from school, that I didn't pass my first work, or the second one, or the third one. Yeah, I passed my first jump. Like, I am that child. I'm that child. I'm that child that, raised my voice at my mom and cussed the shit out of her. You're irresponsible, blah, 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 blah. I am that child. So that you don't see your child going through that and already give up on them.
Conclude that this is who she is.
I pass. Because I lived past that. That's just their journey. I lived past that. Like, I am not that. Like, my friends from secondary school don't connect this Deji to that Deji. But that's on them. I've always been this Deji. I've always been the Deji who wanted to succeed, who wanted to do this, who wanted to live above it all. So, like, I think it's one of the most important things I like to leave on the note. In not giving up on people. Of course, I'm not asking you to take crap or take whatever and all that, but like, you can't give up on people because of what today looks like, especially when they're really young.
Yeah.
Especially when they're in their teenage years, they're in their early 20s. Like, they could become a lot more if they only had the right opportunity. And it's important to note that when a child seems to be misbehaving, they take for help. My prayer for them is that they get heard.
I think you're going to be a great mentor.
I look forward to that.
To children that, I feel like crying. I feel I'm assaulting inside of me.
I appreciate that.
Because I'm sure, I know you know what you're saying, but I don't know if you know the impact of what you're saying. Because, like you said, you were that child.
I was that child.
And it just reminds me of my journey.
Yeah.
Too.
You were that child. Are you joking? You were so the child.
I was. And just like you, my mom never gave up on me.
Yeah.
She never did, for once.
Yeah.
The mother is, when I think about things like that, it makes me question myself, because I have 2 kids today. I think about it. Your mom, I was crazy, Deji. Yeah. Just like you, sharing your story. And her moms never gave up.
Yeah.
Because if they did, who knows where I'll be today? Who knows where you would be today? I'm sure she doesn't know the end. She just knows where more you say.
Yeah.
You must become great. And look at you today.
Yeah.
And I keep saying, look at you.
Thank you.
Because you've come very, very long. And
Thank you.
So, if this counts for anything, I am honored to know you.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel the same.
I am so proud.
I feel the same. Thank you.
And I know that your dad will be in heaven smiling down at you. Trust me that I donated a sperm that became this giant. Trust me.
I hope so.
He may not be here to tell you, but there are other people that know you with your dad out of the picture. He just did what he knew how to do best.
Yeah.
That look at you and wish you were their child. Trust me. And you sharing your story today is such a big deal, because you're going to influence a lot of parents, a lot of young ones that are giving up on their life.
Yeah.
So truly, truly, when they mention Onadeko,
yes,
I am going to ask,
do you know Deji Onadeko?
Are you related to Deji Onadeko?
Yeah.
You know him?
Yeah.
Because I know him.
Yeah.
I really love you from the depth of my
Thank you. I love you too, Lara.
Well done.
Thank you so much.
Oh my God. Oh my God, such an emotion episode. I'm just so emotion because I see this journey, I hear these stories, and this is what happened to me on this show. Like, this is who someone would have labeled a thief, a dropout, a look at him here today, ladies and gentlemen.
I think that
Ha.
I was thinking about you a few days ago. I think it might have been after you told me about this podcast. Thinking about your story and all that. And then, I think I might have come across someone asking you, what are the experiences and all. And I said I was going to tell you this, which is a lot of people would experience what you experienced. But not a lot of them will be blessed with the burden, the mandate, and the compassion to use that experience to touch their world.
Yeah.
The franchise that How They Healed is becoming is unbelievable.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
I can imagine how many people, I'm sure they're touching their thousands now.
Yeah.
That have been impacted in different ways. And it's important to also say this on camera that blessed are your kids to have a mom that can be as vulnerable and as honest with what life is. All that trick of us thinking that we can hide things from our kids is just stupidity. They see it very clearly. So the earlier you give them context, the better they don't get the wrong context about it. So I just wanted to say, thank you for, not allowing your story make you a scapegoat. But if anything, it made you the hero. Really proud of you as well. I think it's important to mention.
Don't let me cry you.
I mean,
because we're about to enter into the game section.
Oh, there's a game.
There's a game. Okay. Let's go to this game section.
All right.
Which Hollywood film holds the record for the highest box office earnings of all time?
Is that not Avatar? Avatar, right?
Oh my goodness! I didn't think. You see me laughing because I'm like, I would never have guessed this. I would never have known this. What does FM stand for in radio broadcasting? I'm happy you found this. Like, look at you, king of radio.
Metric.
My friend, don't even look at anybody's face. Frequency modulation.
Okay, frequency modulation, yes.
And you almost got it.
I almost did.
Yeah. Which Nigerian city is known as the entertainment capital due to its vibrant music and film industry?
Lagos. I mean, where else?
Of course. In filmmaking, what is the term for the first shot of a scene often used to set the location? Yes, you should know that.
Sorry, take the question
again.
In
filmmaking, what is the term for the first shot of a scene often used to set the location?
The term for the first shot.
Don't stop. If you look at anybody, I'll give you
the term for the first shot.
Is establishing shots.
Shots.
You don't know. But you don't know it now. You don't really have that much wisdom like you think you have. You don't know it. Who was the first Nigerian musician to win a Grammy Award?
First Nigerian musician?
Yes, to win a Grammy Award. Solo Grammy Award.
Was it Bonner?
Yes, Bonner.
Okay, great. All right.
What year was YouTube founded?
Hold on. 2000. No, not 2000. 1998?
2005.
I almost said 2005.
Almost does not count. What is the primary color of a traditional green screen used in film production?
Traditional green screen.
The primary color of a traditional
green
screen. Green. I would have given you a ball.
Duh.
Which social media platform is most popular for short form video content?
Most popular for short form?
Yes, video content.
Instagram.
TikTok. What does BTS stand for in the context of filmmaking and content creation?
Anderson.
Well, which African country has the biggest film industry, often referred to as Nollywood?
Of course, Nigeria.
Why did I give you very
Did you have some?
questions?
Were you expecting some Kenyan guest?
You did so well. Congratulations, you did so well. So thank you, Deji, for coming. I am so honored to have you. I am so excited that I got to do this with you.
Thank you.
Because this educated me.
Thank you.
Healed me.
Yeah.
In some, form. I can just imagine what it will do to our audience. So,
thank you.
Everyone, you can see, look at him. He was that child. But look at where he is now. This means for you, if you're a parent, do not give up on your child. Keep hoping. Anything can change. Just keep loving despite. Like Deji said, I was loved despite. I have so much clips I'm going to share from this. I'm already looking at all those small shots that we normally do because it's filled with so much wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, I always tell you on How They Healed that it is never too late to start over. I say it in closing, but today I want to tell you that I just don't say it as a word. Deji exemplifies that sentence, that it is never too late to start over. See you on the next episode of How They Heal.